Welcome to the Prosperity Gap, where we discuss the financial gap that exists between where we are and where we should be. It's time to bridge that gap.
Hello, Prosperity Nation. Welcome back to another edition of the Prosperity Gap. So excited to have you with us today. Today's show is being brought to you by eTrends Tax and Accounting. If you've not yet had the opportunity to get your income taxes filed, if you need help with your accounting, your bookkeeping, please reach out to them. eTrendsGroup.com is the website, and they can help you make sure you stay in compliance with the state, local, and federal governments. Prosperity Nation, also make sure that you subscribe. If you've not yet done so, we want to make sure that every Friday when we release a new episode, that you get the latest information, you get to meet some new friends, and you continue to progress yourself down that prosperity path. I'm super excited for today's show. I know I always say that, but it's because I get to meet some new friends. In fact, today I get to meet my frugal friend, and we're going to talk about not only a crazy story that brought her to this point in her life, but also about some of the great things that she's doing to help other people. Her name's Alycia Austin. She is the owner, I guess, of My Currency Canvas. Alycia, welcome to the show.
Dave, thank you so much. Super, super happy to be here and work with Prosperity Gap and just, spread some knowledge and just happy to be here.
Before we get into the detail of your story, which I think is absolutely amazing, we are both in some pretty unique places today. I'm on the island of Puerto Rico, and those who listen to the show regularly know that. Where are you coming from today?
Today, I am coming from Tokyo, Japan. So we're like on the opposite side of the world of each other.
One of the cool things about Alycia is the fact that she wants to hit 30 countries by the age of 30. She's well on her way to do that. I know she does a lot of traveling. She may talk about that some in her story. But with that, Alycia, why don't you go ahead and just tell us about your story and what got you here?
Yeah, of course. So I am a two-time college dropout. I was born and raised in Virginia Beach. I've had 26 jobs since I've entered the workforce at age 16. I've been fired 5 times, but I still managed to become debt-free at age 26 and super proud of that. And I just want to show everyone else how to do it, that anything is possible with or without a degree, even on really pretty much any salary. I managed to become debt-free, making $30,000 a year, living in Washington, D.C., which most people know the cost of living is very, very high. So it's showing people you can break that cycle of living paycheck to paycheck by just doing things a little bit differently and adopting like a frugal lifestyle, which is doing things that really add value to your life and doing things like, bringing, your lunch to work, or I had to sacrifice the beautiful Mustang that I had and I started taking the bus, public transportation, just doing the little things so you can get to that end goal that you want. And my end goal as of now is to visit 30 countries by age 30. I'm at 15, so I'm halfway there and I've got 3 years to go. So I'm kind of just moving around doing different things, mostly using Google University and finding different opportunities through there and just following that and showing others and showing my story so they can do the same.
Thank you so much for that information. There's some additional questions I have about that story. The first one, I guess, being age 16. This is when you start. What pushed you to start working at such an early age?
So I was playing basketball at the time and my mom was like, well, do you want a car or do you want to keep playing basketball? I was like, I want a car. Like, what 16-year-old doesn't want a car so they can go and hang out with their friends? And so I also wanted my own money so I could kind of like, I would only get $10 every 2 weeks from my parents for allowance, which was just not enough. So just wanted my own money, have some fun, and just really be responsible. In hindsight, that actually kind of got me into that paycheck to paycheck cycle because I was thinking, I'm 16, I'm going to get a check, in another 14 days. So, just kind of spending a lot more money than I was making, but still finding a way to like manage it.
I think that's one of the biggest challenges many of us face. I know when I lived in Las Vegas, I saw it all the time. People could go valet cars and make 80, 90, $100,000. Well, all of a sudden they thought, I don't need to go to college. I just got out of high school. I can go valet cars. I can make all this money. But what they didn't realize is that for most of them, valeting a car was not a lifelong career. So they would get themselves in their late 20s, early 30s, and all of a sudden they're going, now what do I do? I've got all these financial commitments. I've been making all this money, but yet I can't continue to do what I'm doing. And yet I have no education. And I think as you look at even your early starting, that many times we get started making money too early, and it's not a bad thing, but we need to be very careful to not get used to that lifestyle, because there are other steps, hopefully, that we take that help us continue to progress down that prosperity path and get to financial freedom we're looking for.
Exactly.
So Alycia, one of the other things as we look at your own story is you have this situation where you started early, but you also dropped out of college twice. Talk a little bit about that. It's okay. People do it all the time. They drop out of college, but why twice, and what was going on in your life?
So at the time, when I first decided to go to college, I was a manager at McDonald's, and I was also a cashier at 7-Eleven, and I was working like so many hours a day. I was working at 7-Eleven from about 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. And then I would go to McDonald's and work there from 4 p.m. to about 3 a.m. So I had moved out on my own. I still had this overpriced Mustang that I couldn't afford. Was living with a roommate and trying the whole adulting thing. And I was so tired. I was like, there's gotta be a better way. Like I can't, sustain this. So I thought that college would be a fantastic idea for me. So I signed up for a community college and everything was great. I was on the dean's list, and then I got accepted into Virginia Commonwealth University. And so I was like, I'm gonna go to a big 4-year university and try it out and have fun. And when I got there, not only was it super expensive, but I really got caught up in the lifestyle of the university. And I, of course, the partying, the going out, having way more freedom being away from home. And so I decided that, okay, I'm just going to drop out. And then I started waiting tables, and I decided to stay around the area of the university. And I was like, okay, well, let's just give this one more try, see what it's about, and really, stay serious this time. So I changed my major 2 more times. I started out as nursing, and then I switched over to business. And then I switched over to teaching, and then I was just like, maybe this just is not for me. But I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, but I just knew that like the university just wasn't for me. And I felt like I was taking the opportunity away from somebody that might truly appreciate it, because there was a long wait list and I just wasn't taking advantage of a really good opportunity. So
how far did you get along? What was first year?
I think I made it like my sophomore year.
Oh, cool. And one of the other things you did too, I believe, is you looked at going in the military. Is that correct?
Yes. So after the second time I dropped out of college, I was like, okay, well, the workforce isn't, doing it for me. College didn't work out both times. And so maybe the military would be a great option for me. So I went and spoke to a recruiter, and we had a chat. I got signed up for the military and started getting in shape. And I had a boot camp date set for January 13th, year 2015. So I was like, okay, this is perfect. I'm gonna get my life together. And so I moved from Richmond, Virginia, back home to Virginia Beach with my parents for 6 months, just to like save money and get ready for boot camp. And I found a job working for Geico. And Geico was fantastic. I was a licensed insurance agent, and it was a great job. It had great benefits, and I fell in love with this company. And their training is pretty extensive, but long story short, I got fired on December 31st, 2014 from Geico on New Year's Eve, like 14 days before I was supposed to go to boot camp in the military. But I got so comfortable at Geico that I told the military I didn't want to go anymore. So once you kind of drop out, they're like, okay, well, next person, we're gonna, replace you. And it was just so horrible. I put all my eggs in one basket and ended up with nothing. So like that was definitely like my rock bottom point. And I was just like, I had no idea what to do, which way to go. Cried a lot, but I was like, I have to, brush myself off and keep going. And I was unemployed for about 3 months. So I had a lot of time on my hands to like think about what I wanted to do. And I told myself that I didn't know exactly where I wanted to go, but all I knew is that I wanted to see the world and I just wanted to travel, and I was going to make that happen some way, somehow. From there, I went to my favorite school, Google University, and I started finding different ways where you could travel. I literally typed in travel jobs, no degree required, and a couple of different things popped up. Cruise ship worker really like piqued my interest. And so it just so happens that I was applying for different server jobs on Craigslist, and a line popped up and it was like, tired of your 9 to 5, come live and work in Hawaii. And I was like, what is this real? Like, I was like, is there going to be someone in alley? Like, no, well, my life can't get any worse. So like, why not give it a shot? And it just so happens that there was an open house about 20 minutes from my parents' house down at the ocean front, and they were holding an information session where you could send in your resume and go and just have open interviews to work for Norwegian Cruise Lines. So I went, I checked it out, sat through like a 45-minute session. They gave us information on everything, told us what to expect, and then they were doing open interviews in the order of which everyone arrived. So sat there for another 20 minutes, and in less than like 10 minutes, I had a job offer where I could go and work in Hawaii as a waitress. It was only for minimum wage, so I would be making $7.25 an hour, but they paid for everything. They paid for the flight, they paid for your food, and then you live on the ship. So you were, essentially didn't have any bills, but I was like, hey, I wanted to travel. I'm going to Hawaii. This will be my first plane ride. Like let's just do it.
And from there became this desire to hit 30 countries in 30 days. It sounds like that it really spurred your true interest in travel and what you wanted to accomplish there.
Yes, definitely. Definitely opened my eyes up to just like a completely different just life, just seeing that it's completely possible and seeing like the clear blue water, like the sunshine every day, going to the beach. But the work was very, very hard. We worked 7 days a week for 5 months straight. We worked about 12 to 16-hour days. So we weren't on vacation, but we definitely got to experience Hawaii, and I definitely got to travel. And it was just an absolutely amazing experience. I recommend it for anyone that wants to travel and really not have to pay a dime for it.
You have such a great story. I love the fact that you've had all these different experiences, and yet with it, you're still smiling. You're still super happy, even though things haven't always gone exactly as planned. They haven't been the traditional path that many people would say. But I think the reality of it is most people's lives aren't necessarily as traditional as we think they are. That we all have these ups and downs, and we need to understand that as we go through them, they can make us stronger. We can still be happy as we go through the process and get to a point where not only you're debt-free as you are, but I guess my next question for you is, what turned from you being debt-free to saying, I really want to help people now?
Really just sharing, like, I always think like, what good is an idea, or what good is any information if I'm not like sharing it with people? And seeing like my friends and family, like a lot of friends want to like, hey, I want to be able to travel, but either I don't have the money or I'm stuck at a job I don't really like, and just seeing people want to break out and do more. And I'm like, well, I can help you. Like, I'm your frugal friend. I can show you. We can, do different budgets, do different things, and we can really like make it happen. And I'm also the friend that people come to for like, hey, where do I go for like cheap flights or cheap vacation deals? I'm like, here, go here and there and there. So we can just like spread the knowledge and like tell a friend to tell a friend, and like everyone can just help each other out.
I'm like anal about my travel. I'm always looking for the best deal. As a result, I don't have any status with anyone because I just fly with everyone. Part of it is because of the fact that I have weird flight schedules, so certain flights don't fly at the times I need. But the reality of it is I'm just frugal and I don't like to waste money on flights. So with that, we have that in common. Any recommendations for people that are trying to save money on travel? Some of the things they can do to do this?
Yeah, absolutely. So first, I would say Google Flights is like your best friend. And then airfarespot.com is also a great one. They send out emails every single day. And on top of that, like sometimes just traveling, like if you want to save up, maybe what I did was I would take my put up my checking account and set up a automatic transfer to go to my savings just for every single week. That way I could save up money to travel without it, without really seeing it until it was time to go. So that was like a little way for me to not touch the money and still keep it.
It's amazing how much difference there is in travel and the cost of travel. I have 6 children. We go on big family vacations every year, and you start multiplying it by 8 of us, because there's my wife and I and our 6 kids. It adds up quickly. And I guess maybe that's why I'm so cheap when it comes to traveling, is I realize that there's a lot of us that we've got to pay for. In fact, I moved to Puerto Rico. My friends all give me a bad time. I moved to Puerto Rico on Christmas Day because we needed to be here by January 1st. And that was the cheapest day we could actually travel. It was $400 a ticket compared to $800 a ticket. Well, I times that extra 400 times 8 of us, and it saved me substantial money. I told the kids, we can use that for something else. There's no need to waste it. Yes, I'm kind of messing up your Christmas, but I'd rather provide you some extra Christmas benefits than to have to take this $3,200 and just throw it down the drain to an airline company.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually flew to Tokyo on Christmas Day because it was just so much cheaper. Flying on like the actual holiday is usually significantly cheaper than flying the day before or the day after, because no one wants to, fly on that special day sometimes. But it really does make all the difference.
Are there also times that it's good to travel? I mean, if you're going especially to different countries, is it good to pick a season versus necessarily going through the holidays or a busy summer season?
Definitely. I would say going during like the fall, especially if you want to go to Europe, it's much cheaper. I found a flight from New York to Madrid for $140 nonstop through Norwegian Airlines, and it was a great flight. And then I paid an extra $50 to take the bus from Virginia Beach to New York. So I still paid $190 to get from Virginia Beach to Madrid in like overnight, literally.
That's amazing. We went to Madrid out of New York, and it cost us double that and almost triple. And they wanted to charge 4 or 5 or 6 times that amount. So yeah, it's amazing how much you can save. What about timing of travel as far as purchasing tickets? Is there advantages to buying in advance? Do you wait last minute with the belief that you may not be able to go if it gets too high? What are your thoughts?
So I rarely ever wait last minute. I usually plan about 60 days in advance. And then I always look on Airfare Spot. They'll send me when they send me the emails, I'll click on that and I'll see like, oh, cool, there's a flight from, let's just say, Washington, D.C. to New Orleans for 145 round trip. And I just look at those things and they'll tell you the best times to travel. And also another thing with Google Flights is you can type in the airport that you want to start at, and then you can just click anywhere. And you can put cheapest month. It'll literally break down every month, and it'll give you a calendar for every single day where it's cheaper to fly. So you're able to kind of play around with the flights a little bit and save money that way, which is a huge money saver.
It's amazing how many tools are out there to help us save money. I know we do a lot of cruises. One of the sites we use is Vacation to Go, because we've been able to get amazing discounts. It varies, obviously, because you've got to hit the timing. That's times you're playing a game between, is there supply and demand going on? Do we need to buy now? Do we need to buy later? But I think if you can have some flexibility, I guess that's what I would tell most people out there in Prosperity Nation. If you're looking at traveling in the future, start early, be flexible. If you can do that, you're going to have a lot better chance of saving substantial money. Don't be afraid also to take the kids out of school. Many times you can make them educational trips. I know for my family, we do that a lot because we can fly much cheaper when everybody else is in school. And if you're going to amusement parks and things, they're usually a lot less busy during that period of time too.
Yeah, most definitely. It saves money, saves time. And then even with the kids, like that, like the cultural experience and traveling, like it's so educational. Like I've learned so much just from traveling alone, and it really opens your mind and like opens your third eye. And it's really cool.
Alycia, we've talked a lot about travel, but obviously that's not all you focus on. You focus on really helping people get out of the situation they're in. If someone comes to you and wants to start working with you, what's kind of the process for them to get started?
So we start out by doing like a simple like phone call, or we can FaceTime, or we can just message each other on email, Instagram, whatever's most comfortable for you. And we kind of figure out where you're at, where you want to go. And I just kind of ask people and kind of really get a feel for what direction they're really looking at, what they're bringing in, and what they struggle with the most. Because for some people, they have a budget, but they don't really know how to like either follow it, or it's just not adding up. So what I'll do is I offer currency coaching. So I help people. We do monthly coaching. We'll meet up, like we'll talk every week, or, you know, some people want to talk every 2 weeks. Some people want to check in every day. So just really, I really personalize every person's kind of goals to them just through talking and chatting and figuring out what works best. And yeah, we just kind of go from there. And I'm also working on an online course to help people go from financial mess to financial freedom. And yeah, so be on the lookout for that.
What I really liked about your website is it really is like, to me, almost like a hotline. You've got it set up that I saw where I could schedule a 60-minute meeting with you. I could schedule a 30-minute meeting with you. I almost did feel like it's a hotline. It's like, okay, if I'm prepared and ready to meet, obviously it's great, but it's like, if I'm having temptations, if I'm having struggles figuring this out, hey, quickly schedule a meeting with her, get on her calendar, and start working with her to solve this problem. And I think that's great that you've made it so accessible for people. I work a ton on the internet. I meet most of my clients through the internet, through video conferencing or telephones. And it's just amazing how much work can really get done and how much impact we can continue to have on the lives of other people. One of the things you mentioned there, Alycia, is you talk about people, we all have some kind of struggle, it seems like. There's always one thing that kind of holds us up. Any ideas or thoughts to help people really start getting over this one thing, whatever it is, if it's spending, whether it's we just can't stop eating out, whether we are addicted to travel and we overspend all the time on that? How do we get people to really focus on the end goal?
I would say to just keep trying. They always say fail, fail again, fail forward, but take that lesson and kind of really look and analyze the situation and say, okay, well, I did this. Well, how can I do this differently? It's really hard to like break that habit. But one thing I did was really keep the end goal in mind. And I kept like, you have to keep tunnel vision on your end goal and realize that you're going to have to give up the instant gratification for the long-term goals. Like, it's a bit harder when we live on like a microwave mentality where everything is instant. We have Instagram, we have like instant rice, everything is at our fingertips and it's so easy to spend, but you just really got to think about it in the long run. And sometimes you've got to change I'd say those triggers. So if you're constantly eating out, tell yourself, okay, hey, I'm going to either do cash envelopes, or I'm going to make myself go to the grocery store and I'm going to cook, or just start small. So if you go on vacation and you overspend, say you overspend by $500, well, this next time you go on vacation, try to overspend by $499. Like, just do the best you can and cut back just little by little by little, and it'll all make a difference. You just have to keep trying and just know that it'll all be worth it in the end, but it's ultimately up to you, and anything is possible.
I've talked to a lot of people like yourself that help people out there in the financial world. Obviously, we provide that service too. And one of the biggest things that I've seen is that for most people I talk to, it takes about 5 or 6 years to truly get all that old life, the past behind us. But it's not an overnight thing. And Prosperity Nation, I think that's one thing that you need to understand, is it is not an overnight thing. There's going to be hiccups. There's going to be mistakes. There's going to be things that happen. But if you stay true to the course, that over a period of 4, 5, 6, 7 years, you can get it behind you. And then look at you. I mean, you've got a whole life ahead of you. You're not even 30 yet. You've got years and years, and you've said, hey, I figured it out already. And yeah, it was hard, but now I've got this beautiful life ahead of me that I don't have to have all these stress and worries that many other people are dealing with.
Exactly. It was worth the 80-hour work weeks, working 7 days a week, having to eat like rice and chicken for a week straight, but it in the long run, it was all worth, like, I would do it all over again. I don't want to, but if I had to, I completely and totally would, just because, like, just being able to just not have the stress is worth it in itself. And just to be able to do what you truly want to do is just truly a blessing. And I'm very grateful.
I think the biggest thing that you've shown our listeners and that you show in your own life is it just takes work. You know, you've worked a lot of hours. You didn't have a college degree, and maybe that required you even work more hours because you weren't getting paid at a level that many other people were. But that's part of the journey. And just as you said there, I'm willing to do it again. I don't want to, but I'm willing to do it again. And I think for all of us out there, Prosperity Nation, is realize that work's just part of it. That if we don't have some effort in it, if it doesn't take us time, we're never going to appreciate it. And as a result, the chances that we go back to our old way of life are going to be way higher than if we have to really work and sacrifice a little bit to get there. Now, that being said, I don't think it makes us unhappy. I look at you, Alycia. I don't think you're unhappy. Maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but are you unhappy in the life you're living right now?
No, I'm happier than I've ever been.
And that's what we see. That as people get this behind them, all of a sudden they take away the stress, the worry, the challenges, and you get adapted to this new way of life, and it becomes somewhat of a game. It becomes somewhat of an exciting opportunity. And now you can focus on your other goals. So one last question I have for you as we start wrapping this up. You travel a lot. Obviously, it's your big goal to go to 30 different countries. Is it hard to stay in a budget when you're traveling as much as you are?
Yes, most definitely. Because it's like you're in a country and you want to see things. You don't just want to be like a hermit crab and just sit in the hotel room or sit in the hostel. You want to experience the country, the people, the traditions and everything, but still kind of like balance it out without blowing all of your money. So a lot of things I do is I take the same exact habits and things that I do back home and I adopt them here. Like I don't take taxis. I will take public transportation or I walk. Instead of, eating out for 3 meals a day, I will go to the grocery store and, even if I'm just eating breakfast at home, it really does make all the difference. Doing certain things like, not shopping as much or shopping outside of the touristy areas where things are a little bit cheaper. And one of the greatest things about being outside of the States is that you can bargain a little bit. So it's like the first price is never the right price. So you can always kind of like, kind of trade with people and, hey, how about this? How about that? And then come to a meeting agreement. So it's very cool, very different. And then also back to Google University, I'll look up free things to do in the places that I'm in. So you can say free things to do in Tokyo, and you'll have like YouTube is the best. So it'll take you to a YouTube video. You can just take notes and find different parks or different places, or sometimes even festivals that are completely free, and you can enjoy the place that you're in without having to, blow your budget.
Alycia, such great information to help people. We all travel at some point in our lives. It can become very expensive, but yet it doesn't have to be. If you do some planning, if you're willing to maybe take a little more time. I know we do a lot of public transportation now because with 8 of us, it's obviously a challenge to get a cab big enough, number one. But 2, it's just easier for us and much cheaper. I mean, if we're taking a cab or even Uber, we're paying 2 or 3 times what the cost is to get us all there. Where on public transportation, many times we can go for much less cost, many times even free, depending on where we're at. So your company name, as we close up here, your company name is My Currency Canvas. Where did this come from?
So I was actually at one of my jobs in DC, and I was working on creating a website, and I was asking my friend at the time, I was like, I want something that kind of has to do with money, but also something like creative, because I'm a very creative thinker. And after I think 6 months, it finally just hit me one day. And I was like, okay, well, everyone uses like money and stuff like that. Well, what about currency? And I was like, okay, cool. I like currency because it can mean much more than just money. It can mean energy, your time, your focus, and what you're putting into it. And then I got canvas because I believe life is like art, and everyone paints a different picture with their lifestyle. And so I came up with currency canvas because I believe that just whatever lifestyle you want, your life is like a clean slate, and you can paint it whichever way you want and design it and create it. Your energy, your time, your focus, you can create the lifestyle that you want. It doesn't matter where, like you come from, because you can just completely change that and completely go in any direction that you want to.
I am actually a painter. I'm an amateur painter. I train myself. It is cool because Canvas, you can do anything you want. In fact, that's one of my biggest challenges sometimes, is figuring out what I want to do with that canvas. But then once I get started, it's amazing how quickly I can create something that looks amazing in my mind. Now, maybe others don't think the same, but I can create some amazing art and really bring some happiness at times and gifts and stuff to others by giving them my art. But I think the same thing. It's cool that this is the name of your company, My Currency Canvas. Such a cool explanation of what our financial lives really are. One of the great things is you can go to her website, mycurrencycanvas.com. She has opportunities for you there to sign up for meetings with her. She's got a lot of free downloads. She's got a lot of great information to really help you. Alycia, thank you so much for being on our show today. Remember, today's show has been brought to you by eTrends Tax and Accounting. If you've not yet done your tax return for 2019, make sure that you get in. Go to etrendsgroup.com. They will get you signed up for the various packages that will benefit you and allow you to get those returns filed accurately and on time. So you have been listening to The Prosperity Gap. This is the show where we help you bridge that gap between the life you're currently living and the life you should be.